All right. Good to see everybody. Excited about tomorrow. Get this season rolling. Been really fired up about the work and preparation that's gone in this offseason, dating all the way back to January up till now. Great pep in the step from the boys getting back in the building, ready to roll tomorrow, and just excited. So with that, ready to take some questions.
So much has been made about John this offseason and mechanics and things of that nature, but I'm wondering from your perspective as somebody that's now coached him for a few years, where has he grown in his mental game and decision-making and studying film and things of that nature?
Yeah, so like I've said about John a lot, I mean, he's always trying to seek out ways to get better. He's a harsh critic on himself, and so whenever he self-reflects and sits there and says, where can I get better? I watched him attack it head on, just whether it's meetings with Sam Bradford or Coach Venables, but he's always up at the building. He'll pop in with every single position coach, just, trying to gain a deeper understanding of their room, how their room operates, what their room always looks for. He's constantly looking for that knowledge because he firmly believes that's going to translate to him playing better and having people in the right spot at the right time and understanding just the whole game. And so he attacked that head on, went out and just tried to build relationships with all of our coaches. I mean, offense and defense alike, just trying to find different ways that if he can gain an advantage, he wants it. And so that was the exciting part about him. But just constantly seeking that knowledge from anybody and everybody who'll give him some, because he's a football junkie.
Just that room, and he said, he absolutely believes that he has the bodies in that room where you guys could do more 12, 13 personnel in this offense. I'm just curious what your philosophy is there, and if that's maybe an emphasis heading into the season for you.
Yeah, it's a physical league, right? And the awesome thing about Coach Witten and that room is just watching how they've really come together. You think about that room, there's, oh my gosh, 5 new humans in that room from a year ago, 6 if you count Coach Witten, and some great kids in there who were there with us last year. But watching that room get to form and build their own identity of how they're going to play, the standards and expectations that they expect to bring to the table every day, it gives you confidence and gives you trust as a coach to go out there and do different things schematically that a physical line of scrimmage league requires. But those guys have put in an unbelievable amount of work. They've soaked up everything that they can from Coach Witten, and they're continuing to grow. But just excited about that room, the growth they've had, and where they're going to continue to go, and excited with how Coach Witten leads that group.
Second row on the right, Ryan Chapman.
Had Zeppin and Jonathan and Lloyd got to do a ton this spring. How excited you to have Xavier and Torrey back in with that group, and just what are you looking for out of that running back room as a whole to ramp into the season?
Those 3 guys, I mean, it was priceless, the reps that they were able to get during spring ball. Selfishly, you would love for all your guys to be out there for spring ball every single day, getting those reps. But for those 3 guys in specific, and those 3 young guys, or those 2 young guys, priceless. Just the different reps, different moments that they got put in, sometimes learning by fire, out there. I'd rather it happen there in the spring with those guys than if we need them during the fall season. And so excited with how they went about learning, how Coach McCullough went about teaching them, how Coach McCullough went about splitting up the reps to make sure that everybody was touching a different part of what the running back room requires. With that said, I'm fired up to get Torrey and X rolling again. I think they have so much to learn and so much to improve on still, and I think Coach McCullough has, all the expertise to give it to them and hold them to a certain standard of how we expect to play running back here at Oklahoma, but also hold them to a standard of what is your best and delivering your best every single day. And that's what I'm fired up about those 2. But I'm really excited about that room. Continue to look for them whenever they get the ball to run violent, run with purpose downhill, and obviously be clean in pass protection, be synced with the quarterback and the offensive line in that regard, find their ways into the pass game, whether it's check downs and stuff like that. Everything that the running back position requires. I'm excited to watch that entire room continue to grow, and excited with just the expertise and the level of detail that Coach McCullough brings to those guys.
Yeah, Ben, this will be year 4, I guess, with you and John together. How important is that in this day and age where we don't have a ton of continuity anywhere? How important is it for the whether it's a head coach who's running the offense or the offensive coordinator to have a long-standing relationship with the quarterback?
Doesn't happen a lot anymore. Yeah, I think you pointed that out. It doesn't happen a lot anymore, and I consider myself very fortunate to get to be going into year 4 with John for a bunch of different reasons. Personally, I've watched him grow up from I think he was 18 whenever I first met him to now he's 21 years old, and just getting to see that maturation and transformation of him as a leader and as a player and as a young man. That builds, I think, a lot of confidence and a lot of trust. But then I get to see him as a player, and we'll be watching something and we'll see him do something on film, and then I'll just go back in the archives to whenever we were at Wazoo together and pull something up from an early practice that I remember him making a mistake. And I'm like, oh, how far you have come, But I consider myself really fortunate just to get to be able to coach him again for a 4th year and really see him throughout pretty much this entire journey. Couldn't be more proud of him, but excited for him to get to go out there tomorrow and really kick off this 26th season.
Staying on the road, Jenny Carlson.
I was talking to Dylan before about sort of standards that he sets for his running backs. Some coaches say 5 yards a carry, 4 yards a carry, whatever. He said 3 yards after contact is a big milestone mark for him. And I assume that affects how those guys are running. Have you sensed that start to really infuse the way the running backs are approaching things?
100%. Goes back to what I was saying about being physical and violent whenever the ball's in your hand. He emphasizes 3 yards after contact. That turns a 3-yard run into a 6-yard run like that. And those hidden yards coming from the running back position, or any ball carrier, but mainly from the running back position, those hidden yards are pivotal in keeping you on the field, staying in front of the chains, playing efficient, being physical, violent, having a tone and a standard of how you want to play. And he demands it every day from those guys. And the cool thing is watching them accept that demanding coaching from him, because he always talks about being detailed and disciplined, and detailed, discipline, and then physical running downhill. And it's just fun watching them take that, run with it, and really create their own identity and standard in that room.
When he came for his visit, he went over some of the miscues from the tight end room. Yeah. How have his addition with Jack and Rocky, how have they changed, or how will they change the way you play call this year, especially for those guys?
Yeah. When Hayden came on his visit, it was funny. We didn't have a tight end coach at the time, so I got to sit there and run a tight end position meeting. So that was a lot of fun. But Hayden, first thing I look at with him in specific, I think he started like 34, 35 games in this league, has a lot of experience, has a lot of great size to him. And the cool thing about Hayden is, he's a great leader. He's tough and he's physical, but he asks the right questions, and he's continuing to get better and better and better as a player, which I think is cool for somebody who's played so much ball, is that he's continuing to get better. But everybody in that room, I think I kind of alluded to it earlier from an earlier question, but watching those guys get to come in and really be kind of all new together, guys that have played a lot of ball, but be all new together with an all new coach, and watching them form their standard, watching them form what they want to be known as, gives a lot of trust in Coach Venables and myself and Coach Witten, everything that we do to find different ways to get those guys involved. And so they keep on putting in the work. Coach Witten keeps on coaching them up, and they keep on earning different opportunities. So that's exciting.
Where is your comfort level or chemistry level at with Coach McCullough and Coach Witten to feel confident that you will be able to run the ball more efficiently going into the season?
Those guys came in from the jump and have been unbelievable teammates in that offensive staff room, from bringing different ideas to, they have years and years of expertise of different ways of doing things. And ultimately, that's all you're trying to do is find the best way to do something. Not necessarily what you think is the right way, but finding the best way to do something. And those two guys have added to that so much, just from whether it's a different footwork on a run or a different blocking technique on a 9 technique, just different ways to do things and bring it to the table. But they've been unbelievable teammates, not only to me but everybody else in that room. And so whenever they speak, they bring up an idea, it's not coming out of left field. It's very pertinent to what we're trying to do, which is ultimately give our guys answers and put them in the best position to be successful. And so those two guys have been awesome with that, and something that I'm really thankful for.
Go to the right, second row.
Where do you feel like you've improved personally as a coach from where you were at this time last year to now, and what's kind of the comfort level for you entering a second season here?
That's a great question. I think from last year to this year, one of the biggest things that I feel like I have more confidence in is kind of what I said right there, just finding the absolute best way to do something and lean on the guys around me. Coming into year one, you really are trying to build trust and confidence with not only the players but everybody in the building and everybody in your offensive staff room. But I think with the guys that we have in the humans that we have, unreal humans, unbelievable ball coaches, just more, great discussion, more great collaboration. I think that's one thing from last year, me personally, I'm able to lean on a lot more. But, just you got another year with a lot of the same guys. We were able to keep so many guys. So you just feel better about the guys that you have in the players that you have, feel better about what they can do. Maybe what they can't do that you got to go out and develop. But you just feel so much better about that over the whole realm of the offense and kind of the ecosystem that you live in. You just feel so much better about that. So I'd say probably those two things right there.
Back row on the left, Brandon Drum.
Yeah, Parker Livingston missed quite a bit of the spring, obviously. See a lot of him, but what have you seen from him, this offseason? His transition from Texas, obviously to Oklahoma, his comfortability, and just his growth within your offense.
Yeah, Parker's exciting. Parker's exciting because I think the biggest thing that I've seen from him this summer and spring, he's trying to kind of figure it all out a little bit. You kind of referenced he didn't get to go a little bit there in the spring, but he's just trying to figure it all out, new scheme, maybe a different way of doing things. The thing about Parker in the summer, attacked the weight room, attacked installs, and you could really feel him out there during, football-like stuff. And so just watching him really attack that and almost kind of see a switch flip in his mind, like, hey, football is getting closer, it's time to roll. That's really exciting. So excited for the player that Parker is, excited for what he can and possibly could bring on a day-to-day. But he's a great kid, works hard, and I thought he's had a great offseason.
Third row.
Ben, you're in your second year. John's in his second. You seem to have more experience on offense. How much does that encourage you that you guys will probably have a better offensive year this year?
Yeah, I don't think put a price on expertise and reps played and everything that kind of goes into that. But what gives me the most confidence is, reverse it back a little bit. The unbelievable work that I believe that, we have done as a staff, talking about as a coaching staff, but even more so than that, the unbelievable consistency and work that the players have put in over the last 8 months, I think since the end of the season. And so expertise, reps, but really it's the work. It's the work. It's the collaboration. It's the hard conversations. It's the easy conversations. It's the getting on the same page that I think really gives you a lot of confidence. But I love the experience. I love the reps that have been played, and I'm excited to watch him really start forming that identity tomorrow.
Yeah, Brandon, kind of extending on him, he asked about Parker. What about Trill Harris? I guess he's ready to play, but just your overall thought of the receiver room, because you brought in some freshmen, Jasir Rogers, and transfers, Mackenzie Allen, along with the guys that are coming back. What's your general thought on those guys this fall and what you're looking for here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, kind of off of that, I think you see a much more experienced room, whether it was snaps played here at Oklahoma or snaps played somewhere else. And Trell fits right into that. He's kind of a seasoned vet in college football now, has played a lot of ball, been through different fall camps and spring balls and different adversities and challenges, and just being able to add that to the room as another voice for those young guys who are unbelievably talented, who are continuing to build their journey throughout this college football landscape. Just the advice that he's able to give them, along with Isaiah and someone like Parker, just guys who have really been through it. And J. Mike's another one, played a lot of ball, but just guys that have been through it and maybe helping a guy learn a little quicker. Or, hey, this used to help me whenever I was in my second year and stuff was just piling on in my head. I think that's what you see with that receiver room. Is I think you see a lot more maturity, you see a lot more experience, and we've asked them to do a lot of different things really this summer, just from a development standpoint, and those guys ran to it. They were hungry for knowledge and craving it, and they ran to it and attacked it. And so excited about those guys, excited about the added experience we have in there. And again, the confidence for me comes from watching them work. And so that's what I'm excited about.
I know coming out of the spring you were excited about the continuity that you guys brought back on the offensive line. Just how do you feel about the way that they've progressed over the summer, and how much are you looking forward to seeing what they can do in camp, especially when it comes to being able to run the ball?
Yeah, great question. I don't know if I'm, and maybe I don't mean this how I'm about to say this, I don't know if I'm any more proud of a certain position group or unit on our offense than the offensive line. Just their consistency, their work ethic, their hunger to attack, knowledge. It's been incredible to see. The other thing that, again, going back, it's a lot cooler whenever, Michael Fasusi isn't a true freshman anymore. He's a guy who's played a whole season. He has all these different experiences, been through the ringer, gotten beat, had some great victories. All that's out of the way now, and you can see it out there in his play and in his confidence. And he's just one example of a whole unit of guys that you just see coming back and really attacking the mindset of what we want to be on offense, attacking the physicality of what we want to be on offense, and a lot of times leading from the front on the mindset and the standards that we want on offense. So couldn't be more proud of that group, and excited to watch them get to put helmet pads on and work their way into this 26 season. Appreciate you guys. Boomer Sooner.
Right. All right. Good morning, afternoon.
Straight to questions.
We're going to open up straight to questions. Good to see everyone. Good.
What's maybe the biggest difference you've seen in John heading into the second year? Obviously, comfortability is a lot bigger with him. He's been through this before. He knows everything about being QB1 at Oklahoma. But maybe what's the biggest difference you've seen in maybe his mental side of the game?
Maturity, probably understanding the gravity of being the quarterback at the University of Oklahoma. There's that piece. I think he's probably in a more peaceful place when it comes to that, just a more comfortable understanding all the different levels of it. And then, as we've been talking about for several weeks and really post-spring, just the maturity that he's taken to the off-season, looking at ways to improve in all the different ways. So that's mentally understanding what they want to do purposely as an offense in some of the responsibilities within the confines of the offense, and whether it's reads or leading, things of that nature, and certainly understanding defensive structure as well, and really trying to peel that onion back to the core. And then again, just looking at all from a fundamental standpoint, building his body, being a great teammate, developing really good relationships, things of that nature. We have several newcomers on offense, and so much different place than what he was a year ago now as returning starter in the SEC, and what to expect week in and week out. And then building the cohesion and the chemistry, offensively speaking, as he's very natural, from a relationship standpoint. He doesn't have to try to be a dude, he is. And so really proud of all the work that he's put into the out of season. Everybody's followed his lead. Again, as we talked about recently, I've got incredible respect and appreciation for his athletic ability. But his best qualities, in my opinion, are, the human being that he is, the leader that he is, the guy that shows up, the depths of preparation and the level of consistency is a very hard thing, for somebody to possess. And those are strong qualities that he, possesses.
Next to Colton, we'll go to Mason.
Looking at the defensive interior, obviously David and Jaden have played a lot of ball for you, but just how do you feel about the development of Trent, Nigel, Bishop, those guys, the way that's come along, over the offseason?
Yeah, I'm anxious to see where that goes. The offseason is certainly one piece of it. We've been working since January to develop the identity of this football team, find out what we have. I think the fall camp is a real test of where we're at from a maturity standpoint, an improvement standpoint, a consistency standpoint, the things that it takes to win and be successful. I think a lot still remains to be seen. I'm anxious. I wish I had further depth of, evidence to brag on guys, but I think we nailed it when it comes to strength gains and the level of consistency during the summer, the improvement, the confidence that guys have gained. They've done a lot of football and the fundamentals and how we do what we do. I think that's been able to see some of those things, but I want to see it now, and I want to see it during the course of the season. Again, if you go back 2 years ago, a guy like a Dom Williams that had just gotten here as a transfer, he had a solid year in 24 and made a decision that he was going to come back and approach everything with a different mentality. And, man, he was fantastic. And it was two different guys. Just two completely different guys when it comes to challenging himself, holding himself accountable. That's number one. And then number two, his willingness to, set the standard each and every day, be the template for it and be a tone setter, set the thermostat where it needed to be and elevate, and he really did. I think a lot of our success was a lot of guys, coming together defensively last year, but none bigger than Dom Williams. And it was so remarkable, all my years. It doesn't happen as much. And so I'm going out of my way. That's what it needs to look like. And even, and I don't take it for granted, David and Jaden have, again, they've, Jaden has had a really outstanding freshman year and was banged up and fought through. I'm really proud of his toughness that he played with last year, but was limited. Now, David has yet to start a college football game. And I know everybody's quick to, and it's not David's fault. David's put his head down. He's been working. But a lot of people are quick to, announce him as this or that. And this is a game of doing. And this is a game of longevity. This is a game of consistency. When we're talking about to be a good player, it takes those things. Not great, good. That's a foundational thing. So that's the challenge for us in that group. And again, every good defense is going to be good because you're strong up the middle of the defense. And will we be? I don't know. Do we have the potential to be? Absolutely. But I want to see it. And what I'm telling you is no different than anything I'm telling our guys. They should want to impress me, and I don't say that because I'm the head coach. I don't say that at all. But I'm going to be the guy that is gauging, the litmus test and where are we. And my job is to push people, to their limits and bring out the best in them each and every day. And challenge them to improve and stay hungry and stay driven and help develop that mentality. That's what fall camp is about. And certainly, we've talked about the fourth quarter, when we need to be at our best, with a physicality, a mentality, the ability to execute at the highest level. When you're tired, when you're gassed, you need to play your best ball in the fourth quarter, and that's just the mentality where we want to be, as a football program, and certainly, we do on defense. And so this is going to be a great test for us, and opportunity for us here as we start fall camp. I really believe you develop a whole nother level of toughness in your football team during fall camp. And I'm excited to see how our guys are ready to attack it.
Staying on the right, George.
Yeah, Bruce. At media days in Tampa, somebody asked Taylor Wine, who's the next Taylor Wine? And he said PJ was that guy. What have you seen from PJ? I know he didn't participate in the spring, but I think going into his fourth year, what have you seen from him in his growth and development?
Yeah, it's just a body of work to try to get his body back right so he can come and have the endurance to play. Quality is best football, and he has shown great signs. In his role last year, he did some really good things, and now it's an opportunity for him to show that he's a guy that can be a pillar for us. On defense, he's got the talent, the want to, the ability. He's put in a tremendous amount of work, and I think that's what Taylor recognizes. Not that it's just a friend. And a guy that he's pulling for. I think he's seen PJ, the sacrifice and the work that he's put in, typically that, is a reason to believe that, good things are in front of him, and with the talent and the desire, things of that nature. Mm-hmm.
Far right, we'll go to Jenny and then Barry.
Brent, big picture question. A year ago, you're coming off a season that nobody, I don't think, internally wanted to repeat that. I'm sure there was some pressure you were feeling, the team was feeling. Now you're coming off a playoff appearance. Do you feel different heading into this year? And by extension, with the guys around you seeing the fruits of all the things coming to, 10 wins in the playoff and all that, do you feel like the way they're approaching things changes at all?
I think the circumstances are different, but I don't think the approach should ever change. That's my opinion. The pressure doesn't come from anywhere but internally, that you create for yourself, based on the standards, your own expectations, the things that you value. The pressure is never bigger than what it is internally, and I think that should drive you. That pressure is part of your culture. It's a mentality that should be a shared belief system, and we should all feel that every single year. And if you're comfortable, you're going to get beat, period. And comfort is something that we've got to resist, and it's hard to win. And that's not a fancy cliche. That's the truth. And so we know the margins are small. If they were small last year, they're smaller than they've ever been. That's the facts. And we have an opportunity to have a really good football team. There's a lot of variables that go into that. I thought we were on track with that in going into 24, but it's hard when you lose, 9 starters on offense. It's just hard, and with a freshman quarterback. You look around the country, what team is doing, outstanding with a freshman quarterback? Not many. And then you're not great around them. It's hard. So, but you learn through all of it. But to answer your question, as far as pressure and expectations, was there some momentum that was maybe created through, the back half of the season, having some success? I think it has driven hunger. I think it has probably, our guys they feel like they have, more to have, if you will, and more to prove. Certainly prove to themselves, not to anyone else, what we're capable of when we put it all together. Hey, what we actually said, Coach, was actually true. And the outside, cheers and boos and all of that should not affect us, and we have to be tough-minded, for that to be the case. And it matters what we do, what we think, how we work, how we love, how we compete, how we respond, not what everybody else thinks. And so again, I like pressure. Pressure is a good thing when used the right way, but we need to be at our best, right? When the hottest moments, when the fire gets hot, that's when we should be at our best, and that's being battle tested. You can utilize some of the moments from last year to have confidence from, and but we also have to create it internally as much as we can, and challenge one another, certainly as coaches, but certainly how we practice, how we compete situationally, things of that nature, to develop and harden your team and get it battle tested for the season. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent, we're about a year and a half into the new structure with scouting department and Nagy and his staff, all that. How would you say it's gone, and what are the? I know it had to be a big adjustment for somebody like you. Who's been a full-time recruiter all your life. How has it gone, and when you look at the result of this roster, what are the benefits or any potential side effects?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think any time something is brand new, there's always an adjustment period, and I think all change is good. I think it's always an opportunity to grow and get better, and so. Whether that was when we first came to Oklahoma back in 1999, again, left a wonderful situation. We were the number 1 team in the country, number 1 defense in the country, and we had a lot of work to do. And I didn't like it at the time, but it made us a lot better, and we got better quickly. And then I left in 2011, went to Clemson, and I didn't like it. But ended up being a pretty good, situation. You learn and grow, and you learn a lot about yourself. I think I've talked about that. Where you understand at 40 years old, you go somewhere new to a new locker room, you don't get to take everything with you. Some things travel and a lot of things don't. You got to start completely over, and a lot of work is involved, both physically and mentally. And then certainly when we got here in the most disruptive time in college football history, and I get to be a head coach for the first time, so a lot to learn. I think that goes without saying. I think that the new scouting staff and us, I think it's gone really well. And my job is to always look at things from a holistic standpoint and how we can get better, how we can be more efficient. And we've tried to do that, each and every off season. And I think we've made some incremental improvement when it comes to that. For as much as changed, most of it's still the same, exactly the same. It's still about evaluating and looking at your rooms and your sides of the ball, and you got to have a short-term lens, and you certainly have to have a long-term lens. And it's about finding an alignment when it comes to the type of people that you're identifying that can help you win. And then again, I think putting the puzzle together every year is a little bit different. It's not always the same. It's not a cookie-cutter approach in any way, shape, or form. When we do look at players, my first priority is not to look at who's going to be in the NFL. I look at who's going to help make us better right now, and it's got to be a great fit, for us. And, I think if you look at college rosters, whatever, the percentage is, less than 3%. It's probably higher at Oklahoma, but less than 3% ever have a chance to make an opening day roster in the NFL. Okay, that old 53-man roster is hard, and it's not for everybody. And so finding a team, that is tough and physical and competitive, and again, there's an alignment with the values and the type of people that we want in our locker room to build for the long haul. We just put more people in there that, again, have great experience, in building locker rooms and things of that nature. So Jim, his staff, Taylor, Lake, and Charlie, Kale, Drew, all those guys have been fantastic, and they're good people, and they're competitive. They want to win, and we've blended, our culture. They've bought into, how we do what we do, and that was bottom line expectation, and that's no surprise. It's all gone, really well. And it's like anything. It's like any relationship. You got to work at it. You got to develop trust. That has to happen organically. And you got to go through some stuff, both good and challenging. That's all part of it. You got to have, nonstop communication. I think that's a key to all of it. You got to, be willing to have hard conversations and be honest with one another. And there has to be accountability, at the end of the day. And just like offense and defense and special teams, you have, your postseason analysis. You look at the good, and that's all good, but you got to go right at the what maybe where was it that we fell short, and what will we do next time, and how are we going to get better, and there has to be an alignment on what that looks like too, and we've worked hard to do that, and it's been a lot of fun, because they're great people that we get to work with every day, and so. When you love what you do and who you do it with, it makes it limitless as far as the possibility. So been more efficient. As I said, I've talked about this a lot in front of y'all, but the piece that, I did not like was having to do contracts and talk money and things like that. That's just, that's not comfortable for anybody. And then now we're dealing with an age group of 16 to, 24-year-old, young people that haven't done it, before, and there's a maturity piece to it that is not an easy thing to navigate. And so, not complaining at all, but turning that piece over has been the most peaceful part of all of it. But everything else is the exact same. You still got to recruit every single day, whether it's developing relationships or you're constantly looking at video, evaluating players. All of our coaches have that responsibility. They need to have extreme ownership in their room, and for them to be at their best. And so, we don't get to draft people. We have to recruit them. And you can have all the money and you can have the best relationship and you still don't get them. And it's onward. And that's just the nature of, college football recruiting. So it's been good.
Left side, Davis.
Yeah, Coach Chambers kind of talked about his desire to be a DC at some point in his career. Just how important is he in terms of what you guys do on defense, and especially with the defense?
Yeah, all of my assistants, it takes all of us, certainly. But Miguel's awesome. He's incredibly bright. He's got tremendous energy. He's very passionate about people. He's passionate about his opportunity. He's got a sense of humility to him. He shows up every day, willing to learn and get better and grow. And but he also has a unique perspective and experience where he can help other people grow as well. Is well received, well liked. He knows how to turn it up on somebody when he needs to, from an accountability standpoint, a toughness standpoint. He's just high level at every area of what you want in somebody on your staff and in your locker room. Just a quality husband and father, leader, motivator, mentor. Loves the strategy of the game. He's really smart and bright. Got a great future. But he's been incredibly impactful in his space and overall us as a defense.
Davis, Bob.
Yeah, Brian, wanted to get your thoughts on the 5-for-5 proposal that was been talked about, and two-part to it about Friday's ruling, about any potential class of 2022 guys that could return. Is that something you guys might explore during the next few weeks?
Yeah, anything's possible as far as what we might explore, and I think it's great. And I think it simplifies a lot of things. I think number one for us, it helps from a transfer portal standpoint. So if somebody's not hijacking you, with the redshirt year, so that takes that, it takes that piece out of the equation when it comes to evaluating opportunities for young men and what might happen down the road and whatnot. So it creates a little more buy-in. And incentivizes to be good right where your feet are. So I think that's great. And obviously, NCAA is trying to simplify some of the things from a time slot standpoint, how long guys are in college. So I like the simplicity of it. Looks like it's going to be better from a roster management standpoint as well.
Second row, Tim Willard, VP.
Coach, talk a little bit about the addition of Jason and this tight end group and how they're gonna help improve this running game.
Well, I think you're going to see improvement in every part of how they play, and there's an experience standpoint, but the best part of it, the experience doesn't get you there as quickly as being an effective teacher, and he's got a natural skill set when it comes to teaching the game, how he thinks, and just he's very bright, but he's able to be an effective communicator with the guys, inspire, motivate, challenge. It certainly has instant credibility, but if you can't meet the player where he's at, it's going to be hard to be effective to get the guys to play like you want them to play. So I think that's the art of all of it. But he loves what he does. So when you're passionate about what you do, I think that you have a chance to be great at it. I do think it takes that. He doesn't like it. He loves it. And, when I offered him the job, he was willing to walk from where he was to get to Norman. And I love that. There wasn't a lot of him hauling around. As soon as I said, I'm offering you the job, he said, I'll be there, in 30 minutes. And, but he's hungry. He's a great teammate. I think one of his best qualities is how somebody that has had the kind of career that he has professionally, that how well he blends in with everyone, and not just blends in, but lock arms with, and helps move everything forward, day in and day out. And there's an art to knowing when to push and when to sit back and do as you're told to do, so to speak. And he's shouldn't be surprised because he's been in a locker room a long time. But I think there's a reason for that longevity and just a quality human being. I think that's where it starts. But he's bright, loves what he does, and the players. He's got an infectious energy about him, and players really have grown to respect him and appreciate him.
Third row, John Hoover.
Yeah, hey Brent, good to see you again.
You too, John.
I want to ask you about the class of 2022, your first class. Signed 21 scholarship freshmen. You've got one guy left that's going to practice this week. I don't know how normal that is even for 2026, but I don't think we've ever seen those numbers before. So, question about those guys.
What do you mean you haven't seen those numbers before?
1 out of 21. Finishing his career in one place. That's. I've talked to a couple of players today. They said, "Yeah, that seems rare."
Well, guys played 4 years. They're done, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm just saying fifth year guys.
I got you. Fifth year. Yeah.
So, question is, those guys, that class had to get recruited during COVID, 2021, 2020. How tough was that on them as prospects? And then the second part of the question is, how tough is that for you and your staff as evaluators to have to fight through that COVID stuff to get those guys in here?
Yeah, I mean, the 22 class, not nearly as much. That's post-COVID.
They were young guys, sophomores trying to get noticed and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, from their development, I think it's fair to say that they probably missed out on some development in high school, to your point. And to me, that means they have higher ceilings, once they get to a stable place. Certainly the 22 class was excellent for us. We had tremendous success with the 22 class. Most of those guys were seniors last year. And, we became the #1 defense in the SEC in 17 categories, by and large because of that 22 class and their development. And, but I'm sure, they missed out. They certainly didn't have the same scope when it comes to exposure in the recruiting space, being able to get out to camps at a younger age, or coaches coming through their schools, wherever they were, at a younger time to identify them. And that's a big part of recruiting. But thankful, for the guys that we did have, and certainly Kip Lewis as part of that group. And Owen wasn't a scholarship guy, but came in with that group of guys too, as two of the fifth-year guys for us on defense. But I think the 21 class and the 20 class that was a rough time. In college as well. You bring them on campus and then you got to keep them over in a quarantine space, first time away from home. Like that happened very regularly for everybody around the country. Next thing you know, you got to, stay for a week to 2 weeks by themselves, isolating. You drop food off at their door, like they're in prison or something. Just an awful time. Really for that group of that age group of players, what they had to endure. But so did I answer your question? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Back to the right side, Joe Masato, second row. Yeah, Brent. Ben was just up here talking about kind of his confidence going from year one to year two. Thinking back to when you were a young coordinator, what is like the learning curve in those early years as a coach, and just how much you're absorbing? Yeah,
it's endless. You don't know what you don't know until you go through it. And what I've tried to help him is having people that have been there that can help you what's around the corner. Does that make sense? And you feel like you have to carry this heavy weight of, I'm supposed to know everything because I have that title. But in reality, how would you ever know everything? You have no capacity at that time, from an experience standpoint to certainly know everything. But he's been great. He's very hungry, super bright, really smart, incredibly hard, worker and just high standards for himself. But I've tried to give him some guidance along the way to try to take some of that weight off. When you have people around you that have been good at what they do, it's a very healthy thing. And again, that's not an easy thing for people to do. If you're confident in what you do and you have somewhat of an ego, and having an ego, there's different degrees of having an ego, and so not an easy thing to do. But been proud of him, his growth and his development and his maturity to have the right kind of lens, and how do we move our offense forward, how do we get better. And again, we improved in 24 categories last year on offense, and we know that it's still a lot to be to improve on. And so nobody certainly was satisfied with that, but the improvement was the improvement, and although incremental, it was noticeable in some areas, and again, with a lot to still get better and build on. So excited about all the work and development that has taken place. And he's been none of it can happen without him. And again, the test of time, we'll see where we're at. But I got great faith and confidence in where we're at offensively right now, and certainly all of my excitement and anticipation comes from the body of work that certainly he has led. But all of them on offense, players and coaches alike, have locked arms and put their heads down, and a tremendous amount of work over the last several months. Mm-hmm.
A couple more, far right, Ryan Aber.
Yeah, bro, I wanted to ask you about Kip Lewis. Mm-hmm. We talked to Nate earlier, who mentioned maybe pregame Kip wasn't your favorite in the world. What is it about the way that he attacks pregame, but also what is it about his makeup and personality that allows him to flip the switch like that and be the player that he is for you?
My problem with Kip is usually during the week, but believe it or not, when it's not, because I love how he plays. The pregame stuff, I'm worried that he's gonna, blow a gasket and not make it to the fourth quarter. And he likes to run around. We're trying to get the next call in, so he's going to have to do that a little more this year. But I love his passion, his energy. Everybody, it's infectious. I think he endears himself to people that love Oklahoma football because he plays with so much energy and passion. It's incredibly consistent, so it's not conditional on who we're playing, where we're playing. That's who he is. He comes from a program at Carthage High School that, has incredibly high standards, tremendous tradition. He was he's 4A Player of the Year. I think he was part of 3 state championships there. And so he brought some of those things with him. But, his best qualities are his energy and passion and love for the game. He's got a great maturity. He wants things hard. I'm talking about our schedule, and when we're trying to go indoor. A year ago at this time, we didn't have air conditioning in our indoor facility, and so we've gotten AC in there now, and trying to, with the idea of playing through January at some point in time, we've got to do a good job of being efficient and having a combination of old school toughness with modernized sports science and what that combination looks like, so we can be efficient and get exactly what we want and win on Saturdays. And Kip's telling me he doesn't want to ever go indoors. He wants to be outside, and we need the heat and those types of things. So that's who Kip is. East Texas tough, and but man, he really raises the level of everybody around him. Talk about somebody, and we talk about elevating a lot in our building. And Kip has elevated everyone, even as a young freshman. It was really noticeable and has had a tremendous impact, certainly on our defense, but also on our football team. I think John picked him as the guy that you'd want, if you could pick one guy in a street fight, a dark alley, or a fist fight, whatever it was, it was going to be Kip Lewis because of game day Kip. And so he's left a big impression with everybody, and we're going to need him to be his best this year. Mm-hmm.
For one last one, we'll go in the way back. Evan, please.
Yeah, hey, Coach.
Hey, Evan.
We talked to Owen Heineke about, just this process through the spring and then now being back full-time on the field. Just what's it like having him back on as a leader on that defensive side of the ball?
Yeah, it gives you a certain level of comfort. You know what you're getting from him. He's got a great body of work, and probably still his best football still in front of him. That's exciting, but he cares about the team. He cares deeply about the team. He's consumed about the team. And I can't say that enough. He shows up in the building every day, trying to raise the standard and what can I do? He wants to do more constantly. And then again, that's, as I've said, and you care more, you'll do more. And when you do more, that's what it looks like as far as having a chance to have a championship type of locker room. And so just comes from incredibly high standards. Again, he grew up, dreaming and asking and hoping for this moment, and he's in the middle of it, and he's not taking it for granted. He wants to maximize this small window. It's just a vapor. He understands that. So there's a great deal of maturity about Owen. He's a guy that he's not naive. He understands exactly what it's supposed to look like, and when it's not, probably his best quality is he calls a lot of people out, and he knows how to do it without being offensive, and people respond to it. And again, the depth of our leadership, I've talked about it, and it's going to be one of the key components for us to have the kind of season that we potentially can have is the guys like himself willing to lead this football team, and especially when it's hard and there's some challenges and choppy waters down the road. But couldn't be more proud and pleased to have him in the middle of our defense alongside Kip and some other young linebackers and Cole Sullivan. Those guys have all really meshed well. And, he's just an epitome of what you want from a selfless and a maturity standpoint, too, to me, two words that's going to define, this football team when it's all said and done, our willingness to be selfless. And, again, he could have been one of those guys that was going to worry about, his NFL opportunity and his draft ranking and, his NIL, and I can go, my plays and how many reps and me. And, he's focused, put every ounce of energy and time and fiber in his body into what's best for the team, not necessarily what's best for Owen. And I love that selflessness about him. There's a maturity about that hopefully that'll be infectious in our locker room. All right, you bet. All right, thank you all. Appreciate you. See you soon.